Next, we would like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Peter Mohan Pieris, Ambassador of Permanent Mission of Sri Lanka to the United Nations.
Thank you for giving me the floor. Excellencies, distinguished guests, and friends, it is said that one thing that does not abide by majority rule is a person's conscience, the root of all true courage. My dear brothers and sisters of our human family, may I thank you for permitting me the honor of speaking a few words on this very important occasion, because, as Thomas Jefferson puts it, the greatest happiness does not depend on the condition of life in which chance has placed us, but is always the result of good conscience, good health, occupation, and freedom in all just pursuits. May I particularly thank the Federation of World Peace and Love and Dr. Hong for this pioneering initiative in his quest to encourage, promote, protect, and sustain world peace through nothing but the most powerful human emotion that we are born with, and that is the power of love. I cannot resist the temptation of making a reference to an important comment made by you, Dr. Hong, which I thought was most worthy of being mentioned when I read it last night in the wee hours of the morning. Dr. Hong says that a single decision made by a person can change the path of his life. A single decision made by a head of state and a government can affect the lives of its people and deaths to millions of people and other living beings. In an age of misinformation, he says, what people see and hear may not be genuine, and individuals may become confused, anxious, and unable to differentiate truth from what is false. Conscience, he says, is a beacon of the heart, allowing people to see the truth through the fog of life and make choices for the benefit of all beings. Conscience is the only way to lead the earth and mankind through the valley of death and be reborn. My dear friends, these gems of wisdom must echo in our hearts as a constant reminder that life is a duty. It's nothing to trifle with. That we are trustees. Think about it. Not only of our own lives, but the lives of our fellow men, our neighbor, of our planet itself, the one and only home of the human family. My dear friends, it is worthy of mention that in August of 1999, greatly concerned of the state of the world again, Dr. Hong led a cultural goodwill group to promote love, peace, and conscience in various places, and particularly the last one in San Francisco. He reminded us that the journey into the future requires work in hand and encourages us to be responsible to ourselves so that our lives would be more meaningful, and left us the thought that we must look forward to returning to a harmonious world in which there is no suffering, no fear, no war, and no pain. I thought that was perfectly consonant with the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the universal truth of many religious leaders. My dear friends, the International Day of Conference, to be observed tomorrow, the 5th, is dedicated to promoting peace, tolerance, inclusion, understanding, and awareness of the importance of the conscience in guiding human behavior and in the decision-making process. What does this day do? The day encourages all of us to reflect on our own actions and choices, emphasizing the role of the conscience in promoting justice, human rights, and sustainable development. I therefore invite you today to a few moments of silent introspection and reflection as to how we could achieve that world with a fine conscience. Can we, I ask, take time to reflect on our own values, beliefs, and ethical principles, considering how those actions impact others and the world around us? Can we engage in discussions and activities aimed at fostering peace, dialogue, and understanding? Could we contemplate on the importance of upholding human rights, promoting social justice, and combating discrimination and inequality in all its forms? Can I ask you to reflect on the interconnectedness of humanity and our environment and the responsibility to protect and preserve the planet for future generations? I surely must be failing in my duty if I was not to encourage you to embrace your own role as a global citizen, recognizing your interconnectedness and collective responsibility towards building a more just and peaceful and sustainable world, and engage in educational activities and initiatives to promote ethical decision making. I say it again, ethical decision making, critical thinking, empathy, and above all, compassion. And finally, I wish to inspire you and our communities to take concrete actions to address the pressing global challenges, promote social change, and contribute to the common good of mankind. My dear friends, the conscience generates wisdom and kindness and helps to make the right decisions in the face of difficulties and at critical moments. It does not discriminate between the status of individuals. Think about it. And that when all people follow their conscience, the world will be at peace. The International Day of Conscience was established by the United Nations by Resolution 75/200 in 2020, co-sponsored by 44 countries. It aimed to promote peace, tolerance, empathy, and respect for all human rights. We haven't got too far on that, I must confess. So the International Day of Conscience provides an opportunity for all of us to engage in activities and raise awareness about the role of conscience. So overall, my dear friends, the International Day of Conscience serves as a reminder to all of us of the fundamental values shared by humanity and the collective responsibility that all of us have to promote peace, tolerance, and respect for all. It encourages us to listen to our conscience and work together towards building a better world for the present and future generations. And finally, can I leave you with this thought? That let all that you be done in love. World peace can be achieved when in each one of us, the power of love replaces the love of power. My dear friends, peace is not the absence of power. Peace is the presence of love. Permit me to conclude by reminding you that love can change everything and assure for us that dream of a lasting peace where we will live in love and peace as members of one human family. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I'm going to remember that peace is the presence of love. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. Not going to make any more comments. It's too good. And next, we'd like to welcome Mr. Jonathan Granoff, Permanent Observer of the International Anti-Corruption Academy, President of Global Security Institute. Welcome.
I'm the representative of the World Summits of the Nobel Peace Laureates. I'm the World Academy is no longer functioning here, my regret. Albert Einstein said, "The unleashed power of the atom has changed everything, save our mode of thinking, and we thus drift toward unparalleled catastrophe." And this drifting is because we've forgotten the compass. And the compass, of course, is the conscience. The intellect is not sufficient to be that compass. Science is not sufficient. Artificial intelligence is not sufficient because none of these give us the why. They're all concerned with the how. Conscience is concerned with the why. Conscience is concerned with the why. Without the why, you have art without beauty, philosophy without truth, medicine without healing, law without justice, religion without love, transcendence, and a moral compass, and weapons, ironically, the more you perfect them, the less security you get. So we become preoccupied with the how without the why. And I propose that's because the power of conscience is not being invoked in the affairs of states and in the affairs of men. Some people say, well, values and conscience are culturally relative. They even say human rights are relative. Well, no one who's ever been summarily tortured and incarcerated will tell you that human rights are relative or that human dignity is relative. But here's the evidence of the universality of the voice of conscience. Buddhism, hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. Christianity, all things whatsoever you would that men do to you, do you even so to them. Confucianism, do not unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Hinduism, this is the sum of duty, do not unto others which would cause you pain if done to you. Islam, no one of you is a believer until he desires for others that which he desires for himself. Jainism, in happiness and suffering, in joy and grief, we should regard all creatures as we regard our own self. Judaism, what is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow man. That is the law. All the rest is commentary. Zoroastrianism, that nature only is good when it shall not do unto another whatsoever is not good for its own self. So this is the voice of conscience throughout all the religions, in all cultures, in all times. What we should be promoting here is nations should treat other nations as they want to be treated. Because the golden rule works internally, because if we look at how we want to be treated internally and bring it into action, it brings coherence in your life. It brings incoherence in your family if you don't do it, and it brings coherence between and amongst nations. That is why this initiative of conscience is so important, because it opens the door, conscience opens the door to human security amongst nations, common security, and it opens the door within us. It opens the door within us to the great treasures that make us human. Hope, love, compassion, justice, tranquility. Without the compass, you don't know how to act. You don't know why to act. The great Sufi master Baba Muhyiddin said, separate from yourself that which separates you from others. Conscience can tell you that. Anger, falsehood, jealousy, pride, prejudice, these things separate us from one another. Love, compassion, hope, justice bring us together as human beings, but more importantly, they provide the why of our own life, because they bring us together with the soul that brings us together with God, that brings us together with the eternal reason of why we're born. We're born to be human. And let me conclude with another quote from Einstein and how appropriate it is for what we're trying to do. There are two ways to live. You can live as if nothing is a miracle, or you can live as if everything is a miracle. Thank you.